Hello friends, welcome to Selenium Point. My name is Harshal and I am going to teach you Selenium from scratch. Let's start with today's tutorial. It's about locators in Selenium. This is a theory tutorial, locator in Selenium WebDriver. Here are the available locators: ID, name, link text, XPath, CSS and DOM. Before to start, let know the basic like what Selenium exactly do. What it do and why locators are required. Selenium is nothing but like it identifies the web element, and perform the action. For example, it actually automates the browser. So in order to automate a browser, Selenium has to perform the actions on web element. For example, this is a text box, name, mobile. This is a select box. This is a checkbox. This is a button. So Selenium has to enter a value in text box. Selenium has to select a value in a select box in a drop down. It has to click on the button. So in order to perform these actions, Selenium has to identify a unique identifiers, and that identifiers are nothing but the locators. Selenium support different locators, which mentioned here, like ID, name, and how to identify this actually, because every web element has different locators. So in earlier tutorial, we have already seen the installation of Firepath, Firebug. So use that. uh, this is a test website. I have already explained that you are going to use it for your personal testing. Uh, let's enable Firebug. Okay, and inspect this text box. You can see entire DOM generated here, or HTML code you can see here. The highlighted code is for the inspected element. For example, I have inspected mobile field. It will highlight the HTML code for the same. Okay, so this is the field text box name, and it has different attributes. Like it is a tag input, and input tag has different attributes. Like ID, it has ID name. ID is equal to name. It has class attribute. It has name attribute. It has placeholder, and so on. So it's not necessary that every field has ID or every field has name. It may be absent or it may be a present. So these are the locators actually. For example, if you want to identify this element using ID, then there should be ID present, and this element, the ID is there. ID is a name. But for example, for this select box, you can see this is a select box. It has no ID, but it has a name. Also, for some example, there is no ID and no name. Then we have to identify the XPath. And this is the priority sequence. Like if id is present for any one of the element, you must have to use id, because id is pretty much faster than other all elements. This is the priority sequence, like id, name, link text, xpath, css and dom. So let's start some practical example for the same. Like uh, you want to click here, or you want to submit the text in this field using the locator. So let's open Eclipse, create a new class, uh, project. All the setup I have already explained in earlier tutorials, like how to download the Eclipse, how to import the jar, and how to start with a simple program, like how to open the URL. So let's start the next part, which is identifying the locator. Okay, create a browser object. New Firefox driver. Import the packages As you know, for Firefox, Gecko driver is required. So set the system property, system dot set property keys WebDriver dot Gecko dot driver, and the value is path. So path of the Gecko driver, in my case I have placed a Gecko driver in this path. For Windows user, make sure you are using the exe extension for the Gecko driver. That would be a Gecko driver.exe. Path would be the different. Okay, now open the URL driver.get. This we have already seen in last tutorial, and the URL is, this is the URL, this is the test website guys for you. So that's it. Now this will open the website. Once this test website will open, we have to identify this text box and submit, or I can say just enter a text in the name field. So I will put thread.leaf here just to make it visibly clear after few wait. Just let's say 5-second delay. Okay, it will ask me to throw exception, no issues. Thread.flip is not a good way to use everywhere, but for time being you are using this. We have to use explicit or implicit wait, and I will explain it in next tutorials. Okay, so identify this element. Let's identify using the id. It has id and value is the name. So copy the name. The syntax of the Selenium is driver dot find element by, see, you can see the different locators, class name, CSS, id, link text. Now you are using the id, so use id in double quote, give the id, then it will identify that id, and now you have to send the keys. You have to type the text. So in order to type the text, use send keys method. Let's say Harshal. Okay. Save the program and run it. Browser is launch. It has wait for 5 seconds, and it will, after 5 seconds, it has to, oh, I have entered 50 seconds wait. It's not 5 seconds. We have to wait few more seconds then. Seconds is almost close to 1 minute. That's it guys, it has entered our, close it. Let's minimize 10, then it will be 5 seconds, save it. Now let's identify this element using, close this browser. So we have seen the locator id. Now let's identify the same element using another locator, which is name. So this is a name, and name has a value uname. So copy it. You just have to change, instead of id, by name, and the value is different, uname. Getting? Let's run it again. Okay, it has opened the browser. In a 5 second it will enter a name. See, it has entered a name. That's it. Close it. Okay, then the next locator is a link text. So okay, identify the link on the web page. So here is a link, terms. You can see the term, inspect the terms. The link means it comes with the a tag. A is anchor tag, so all the elements which has a tag are the links. and it has text terms. So let's click on terms manually. Once you click on the terms, it will use the terms and condition page. So with the Selenium, the code is the same. Like I will comment out this code: driver dot find element. Now we have to find the element using link text, and this is the link text terms dot click, and we are going to perform the action of click. Let's see. Let's run the program. It has opened the browser. Okay, it will wait for 5 seconds and it will click on terms. That's it, guys. It has click on the terms. Okay, now here is XPath and CSS. So these are the big topic itself, XPath and CSS. I will explain in short here, and I will make another separate tutorial for XPath and separate tutorial for CSS. Okay, but in short, for few elements, for that, if there is no CSS, sorry, no ID, no name, no link text, in that case we have to use XPath. For example, uh, okay, I will give you real-time example. Flipkart.com. For example, you have to click on the Samsung. So you can see here it has no any class, it has no any ID, it has no any name. So you need to find the XPath for the same. That's the reason XPath or CSS. XPath and CSS are there. Okay, so I will explain this scenario. This comes with the difficult scenario. So let's go step by step. Identify the XPath for these steps, these elements first. Then we'll go ahead. Okay, let's identify the XPath of these elements first. So I have already explained you about the few add-ons in earlier tutorial, that Firebug is here and Firepath is here, which will give you XPath and CSS ready-made. And you can also manually identify this XPath. So if you want to identify this element using XPath, for example, for time being, let's consider name is the property and it has no ID. Then you have to how to identify this or forget it. Let's identify the name using XPath. Just click on the Firepath. It will give you a ready-made XPath as well. But I will recommend no, don't use the ready-made XPath because there might be a possibility of failure. So in order to XPath, there are two types of XPath: relative and absolute XPath. Absolute XPath and relative XPath. So what is absolute and what is relative? Absolute XPath means it starts from the root element. For example, once you inspect this element, DOM is generated. It is highlighted only that element, but the DOM or HTML code starts from the root, head, body, I mean HTML tag. So identifying this element from root element, which is HTML element, is nothing but absolute XPath. See, you can see here absolute XPath has been generated. HTML, body, div, then form, and then input. That means this is HTML, this is a body. In the body there is a div and two. So when you minimize it, you can see in a body there is a two divs. Inside second div you can see div, in a first div you can see the input tag. So this is absolute XPath. But the one failure reason of absolute XPath is if there is a change in a DOM. For example, if some CSS is added or some classes are added over here, and it will change the sequence of the div. One div is added, it will make it has to be a third div. So in this case XPath will fail. So mostly we prefer the relative XPath. So remove that checkbox in the Firepath. It will give you a relative XPath. So this is a relative XPath. For the same field, it directly goes to it directly identify that unique property and makes XPath. For example, it has unique property ID, so it directly identify the ID, and the XPath would be /ID is equal to name. So this is also XPath. For example, let's identify XPath manually of the button. So once you click on this, it will give you a XPath. And now it's a relative XPath because you have unchecked the absolute XPath path. Use that one. Another method to identify the XPath is we have already seen in earlier tutorial that we have installed add-in XPath checker. So once it is installed with the Firefox, you can see, just right click on the any element and click view XPath. So here you can manually identify the XPath. For example, XPath start absolute XPath and relative. So relative XPath starts with a double slash. You have to identify the XPath of this button, submit button. Just start with the double slash, and the button has a tag button. So just type button, button button. It will show you all the buttons on the web page. See, in this web page we have 4 buttons, 1 2 3 4, 1 2 3. The fourth one is okay. Where it went? Okay. And the close button is somewhere. Okay, let's see. Let's forget it. That's it. But we have to identify only this element, submit. So button has ID. This button has ID and submit, or name is submit. So you can use that in the bracket. Let's use ID. So @ID equal to submit and submit. This is only one button visible, so this is the correct website. You can use it as it is. It will click the element. For this, let's say, for this field, mobile field, again start with this field start with the input tag. So just input, it will show you all the inputs on the website. Into the square bracket we have to identify only this. So it has unique property ID, so use @ID equal to mobile. Now only one field is here. You can, this is XPath, this is absolute XPath. Use as it is. So let's try it. D dot find element by XPath, and this is the XPath. Instead of dot click, it's the same keys. Let's run it. It will open the website, wait for 5 seconds, and it will enter a text in a name field. Sorry, email field, Harshal7. That's it. Because ID is a mobile. Okay. So this is the way to identify the XPath actually. For example, let's try one more scenario. Here is a link. Identify the XPath of that link. So it has no ID and it has no name as well. So this tag is a tag. So start with the A. It will give all the links in the website. So these are the links available, but we have to identify only this link. So in that case, we have to use, there is no unique property right now. It has no id, it has no name, or it has no value. So use text property. So text, eh, text, and the syntax of the text is text bracket comma single quoted terms, ter, or its content actually, text is equal to terms, terms terms. See, it has give you a common XPath or unique XPath. That's it guys for XPath. Actually XPath is itself a big tutorial. I will explain it, all the XPath types in next tutorial, which will be designed for only XPath. But for time being, to do action you can, it's enough for to start. So let's go ahead with the CSS. CSS is same as XPath actually, but it has some different syntax only. That's it, nothing different. But CSS is pretty much faster than XPath. In Internet Explorer, I have observed that identifying element using XPath, it took much time, or the browser gets slower. But with CSS, it is faster. So let's aware about the CSS. So with the same plugin, just change the property CSS. It will give a CSS here. For example, you have to identify the CSS of the name. It is simple. Just click here. It has give you a hash name. That means ID denotes with the hash, and class denotes with the dot. For example, uh, this is hash name. This has ID name, so it's hash name, but it has class form control. So let's see with the form control. Let's put to identify the class, give a dot and a form control and enter. Then it will give you, it will like show you, it will select all the form controls, but it's not a unique, so you have use id. Also you can do like this way, in that id is name, form control hash name, then this is a css. Okay. The another type of identifying the css is simple, like XPath. Get the tag name. Tag name is the input into the bracket, just attribute name and its value. ID is equal to name. That's it. It has identified this element. If the ID is email, it has identified the email. ID is mobile, it has identified the mobile. So this is a CSS. Let's try it. Driver dot find element by CSS selector. It's a mobile dot send keys any mobile. Let's run it. It has opened the browser. Wait for 5 seconds. That's it guys, it has entered the mobile number. Okay, that's it. So that's it for in locator tutorial. You can refer this website, you can go to the this tutorial and you can revise your topic. So keep watching the same videos. Thank you guys. I will put all the next topics day by day. Thank you for watching the video.